Hi, I'm Wanda O'Connor from Montreal. I'm going to start by reading a poem that I wrote about how Robin Blaser has influenced my work in terms of cosmology and territory and body on the page, and then I'll discuss his poetics a little bit. The terrain tilts, lente, lente, some static, taking up a fault line, perhaps taking a turn to map, to unmap. We are not paralytic because we are open, despite being struck by that openness, how our joints are daring, employing limbs that respond to the discourse of the other. The territory is oriented by concomitant elements of mysticism, of rhetoric, of heroism, and of pallor, of the land all susceptible to myth, to the tensions between finitude and randonnée. We are perimeter shy, and yet we question and we leap into the nation of forms, an Apollonian caste, proselytizing techne, art, speech, pastures, sounds. Where parable meets a fixed line some call edge. Negotiating these surfaces we fit, softly, our provinces summoned by birds, by arms heavy with the transfer of presence to absence and back again. We are random, whirling in fields, constructing body schematics, attending to latent shapes. In my own work, and I have found in the work of Robin Blaser, there is omnipresent a question of where and of what is the territory of the poem, and the act of traveling through its landscape. I like to think both here of Duncan's field of ensouling, and of how the body comes to be situated within what Blaser refers to as cosmology. I wonder how else are we going to address cadence but to ourselves become a tourist amid the rocks and stellar systems raised by the poetics of space, exploring the discourse of the unfamiliar. Robin writes of the peripatetic nature of soul, and I think of the Greek word thumos here, representing a variety of things like spiritedness, heartedness, and after Deleuze, this idea of an ontological phenomena flash, where the soul's profound duality alone explains the necessity for exchanges between spheres, Robin writes. And the exchange is meditative and reciprocal between positions out of solitude and in precision. As Blaser writes again, at the sea's edge, a slap mixed with the exact note. And as the music, the cadence is halved and semitonal, Blaser writes, sliding half notes in the wings. We are prepared for the absence of other, for Blaser's separable soul concealed in an egg or a tree. We are excursus itself, whisted and spoken, and are, in a great deal of Blaser's work, contending with the German notion Geworfenheit, a thrownness into being, and the consequent displacement and ambiguity that may follow. How do we recover the world, we might ask ourselves, and Blaser suggests to begin where you are, in a cosmic place, in a house, where shadow and light become movement. Blaser seeks a certain continuity of self that is poised between the here and there, not unlike Jack Spicer's notion that our poetics works within a dialectic of presence and absence. This suggests to me a slippage poetics, negotiating differing liminal positions on metaphysical and psychological planes. The poetry of Blaser resists the notion of form as rest, and he writes of traditional form as no longer being able to hold our purposes, and that language becomes a medium that can be shaped. Rather, Blaser's energies seem to be expressed in terms of animation and restlessness. These competing energies inform his syntactical dynamic, at times paratactic and involving the ever-presence of his own philosophy of outside. We are at once in the city and in the woods with Blaser. His collections, The Fire and the Holy Forest, serving as exemplary models of difference. One may destroy the other while still fostering new growth. The fire burns the forest returns. In Dantean key, this is both utopic and rapturous, the perfect recipe to found a new cosmology. The territory is proprioceptive, after Olson's notion of the unconscious perception of movement and spatial orientation arising from stimuli within the body itself, within the poem itself. It is made up of uncertain words, half remains of celestial seas, hardening and gathering and mingling, in Blaser's soul's duality. The poem terrain claims the frame of the unconscious, the periphery, so that we might transcend, practice the threshold. As Blaser writes, at the edge of the real, the work of obscurities are the edge of necessary, to a luminous passage. Just as I seek to marry the self and other within my own fields, Blaser writes in the preface to Syntax that these poems do not belong to me, suggesting a coalescence of self and other, and resulting in a nuanced body space that, as he writes, is spiritus, an inhalation and exhalation of the world. The poem I began with was my own, and the snippets of poem throughout were referring to his Imagination 10 poem, Marriage Close. Thanks, everyone.